It all started on r/Wall Street Bets when a user by the name of Deep Fucking Value posted a screenshot showing he had just bought $50,000 worth of GameStop shares, a move almost unthinkable to many users at the time. Although he was met with an abundance of comments essentially calling him a smooth brain idiot, this man fucking held on, and by the time January 2021 rolled around, he was starting to turn some heads. As it turns out, Wall Street Bets figured out that a number of hedge funds had a lot of money in GameStop shorts, so they banded together with a brilliant idea. If a large proportion of all 2 million members suddenly bought a metric fuck ton of GameStop stock at the same time, this would cause a spike in demand and a shorter supply, which would force the value of GameStop sky high. This continued over a month as the price slowly rose from $20, $50, $200, and all the way up to just short of $500 as new people were rapidly catching on to the plan. Understandably, this shit started ruffling some feathers of hedge fund managers who were set to lose millions from this community of people who were overly enthusiastic about the prospects of GameStop. One of the most hurt firm from this whole ideal is Melvin Capital, who by the 26th of January saw a 30% loss to the tune of $3.7 billion. By the 27th of January, support from the stock kingmaker himself, Elon Musk, spurred the GameStop share price to $351, up from less than $20 at the start of the month. By the very next day, on the 28th of January, a number of stock trading platforms were found to have restricted the trade of GameStop shares, among a handful of other shares that were receiving similar treatment. This restriction sounds inconsequential, but with millions of people now dumping such an excessive amount of money into the stock, such a halt is extremely detrimental to the strategy. When millions of dollars were on the line for people, it's unsurprising that many were extremely dissatisfied with restrictions being placed on trading. By the end of January weekend, despite the fuckery from a number of different platforms, the GameStop share price still finished higher than it started, and with the message to hold GameStop shares being flown through the sky and in Times Square, hedge funds were getting even more terrified of the bottom line damage. However, by the time the market opened back up on Monday, it was clear that the hedge funds had a plan. Like clockwork, a number of news outlets including CNN, the Financial Times, Fortune, USA Today, Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance, the BBC, and the Wall Street Journal all started reporting that Wall Street Bets had moved away from GameStop and onto investing in silver. In fact, by Monday, almost every post was talking about how silver was very much not the play, which led many to suspect that some fuckery was afoot. One user who decided to investigate these silver supporters found that around 80% of these accounts were only 2 days old. Along with this, the chief market strategist at an online financial trading and investing company made it known that silver was being traded at 1,000 times the volume compared to GameStop, making it infinitely harder to influence the price. Hedge funds that shorted the stock could now buy GameStop shares at a lower price, eventually meaning they could get off easier in the long run. By the end of the day, GameStop was down nearly a third of its value, and Netflix already had a movie in the works. The 2nd of February was not a good time for GameStop. Evidence of straight up market manipulation was found to be used by a number of hedge funds, using what's called a short ladder attack. Here's how it worked. As most individual investors were restricted from trading, hedge funds had nearly free reign over the buying and selling of GameStop stock. From here, they would buy and sell shares between each other in rapid succession at lower and lower prices using bots, which would trick the algorithm into thinking the stock is getting dumped, which in turn tanks the price. This would hopefully spook enough people into selling at a loss, which would let them snap up much cheaper stocks in circulation at a hugely reduced price. The only problem with this plan is if people simply held onto their shares and did nothing. The artificial price reduction would only serve to give people a discount on more shares, which would be much more expensive when the hedge funds are forced to buy back. By the end of the day, billionaire investor Mark Cuban reassured Wall Street Bets that their diamond hands would not go unrewarded and urged all investors to buy and hold at the dip. A rational person would look at this situation and know that it's in their best interest to hold, but as we've seen before, Human nature can be especially irrational, particularly when they've been told that the train had left without them. By the 4th of February, there was a clear mood shift on Wall Street bets. People were looking for reassurance. Some had given up hope altogether, but the general sentiment still stood strong. These degenerates would be holding on to their shares for better or worse. After all, Wall Street bets could hold on to their shares until the end of time, but hedge fund shorters, who pay interest on every share they've yet to buy back, don't quite have such a luxury. Assuming enough people don't decide to sell at a loss, this was now a battle of attrition. With the share price up 20% from the previous day, but still sitting at just $60. Many of the most adamant believers in the short squeeze doubled down and thanked the short ladder attacks for the easy discount. But at the close of market for the weekend, time was yet to tell whether they would be rewarded for their diamond hands. This is the story about how a band of usually separate investors caught hedge funds flying too close to the sun and took an unprecedented risk to use the same exploit that was previously only reserved for the ultra wealthy. Alternatively, perhaps this is a cautionary tale, a tale of market manipulation, astroturfing, media influence, and trade restrictions, all being purposely targeted to make sure average investors can't play by the same rules as hedge funds. Because even when the only thing that needed to happen is for the free market to run its course, it seems that this isn't even a certainty when the wrong people make the right mistakes.
What if it's me looking down on me? The world above must also be. This could go on for infinity. Can't